Thank you, Mr. Frotman. Let's examine who the real predator is. The Orwellian predator, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Since President Trump took office, we have heard multiple complaints from my Democrat colleagues about executive power and DOGE and Elon Musk controlling funding. For example, Ranking Member Waters referred to Elon Musk as, quote, an unelected billionaire co-president, end quote, multiple times in front of this committee, and that, quote, they attempted to illegally kill the CFPB, end quote. And, quote, unelected billionaire Elon Musk seizes control of American people's money, end quote. My friend, Representative Kasten, brought up how Elon Musk is violating Congress's power of the purse. So my question really should be geared toward my friends across the aisle. If you are so concerned about unelected officials in the executive branch controlling funding and the future of the Bureau, why aren't you supporting reforms to the Bureau structure to bring oversight back to Congress? If you are so worried about violations to the power of the purse, why aren't you supporting my TABS Act and bringing appropriations powers back to Congress? Ms. Keene, during your tenure at the Federal Trade Commission, did you find a commission structure or being funded through the normal congressional appropriations process somehow prevented you from protecting consumers?
No, I did not. The commission structure at the FTC allowed business to continue even through changes of administration, as it is now, and it allowed the work to have the insight of both sides of the aisle. So issues were fairly considered in front of the commission.
Well, under Director Chopra, the Bureau engaged in fishing expeditions through its CID process, burdening institutions with requests for documentation, time, resources, other demands without any foreseeable end in sight. Ms. Keene, you, I think in your written and oral testimony, really laid out the abuses from the Bureau. And this is why I introduced the CID Reform Act. Ms. Keene, you've represented clients who've been victimized by these fishing expeditions. Can you describe what these small business owners, these American citizens, have to endure with these CIDs?
Yes, sir. I think it's really telling because I think the focus of Mr. Frotman's open remarks were talking about large banks. But the clients I represent are not large banks. They are small businesses in your local community trying to serve a variety of needs of consumers. And when they receive a CID, it's exhausting. It's a lot of documents under short time frames. The usual return date for a CID is 30 days. And there can be 30 or 40 requests in a particular CID. That's a lot of time and effort on the part of the company to try to gather that information. And there are very limited abilities of the company to bring objections in a meaningful way that doesn't expose the investigation.
I think your testimony brings to light who the real predator is here. Mr. Schneider, how do these demands discourage financial providers from offering financial products and services to consumers?
Well, if you don't know what the rules of the road are, it's very difficult to innovate. It's very difficult to know what you can bring to the market that isn't going to be immediately attacked. So you just end up spending a lot of money trying to figure out, hiring lawyers, hiring to figure out what you need to do just to keep going with your current products, and your innovation is lost, and that's never seen, quite frankly. What doesn't happen is never seen.
Well, you know, we want cops on the beat, but we want due process. And CIDs from the Bureau lack due process. Can you speak to that?
Well, I would echo my colleagues' statements. These are extraordinarily broad requests. They often are seeking information about conduct that could never be the subject of an enforcement action. There's extraordinarily tight deadlines. If you have any objection to the scope of the CID, you have to go back and hope to get relief from the entity that's delivered it to you. And I might add, when you do that, if you dare to petition to modify or set the CID aside, that becomes part of the public record. So you're tainted with as being an entity under investigation merely by the action of seeking to make it more reasonable for you to respond.
Yeah, I think it's also reasonable just to require the CFPB to tell the target why they're actually doing this investigation. Mr. Pomeroy, last question to you. In fulfilling the America First agenda, the President has begun removing government waste and overreach and ending the disastrous DEI cancer that is spread throughout our financial system. In the finalized Section 1071 Small Business Data collection rulemaking. This rule requires small business lenders to collect 81 data fields from small businesses, including whether the applicant is minority-owned or LGBTQ, the sex, ethnicity, race of the principal owners, et cetera, increasing compliance costs and reducing loan availability. Can you discuss some of the costs of this rulemaking and elaborate why it must be rescinded to protect small business access to credit?
Well, the 1071 rulemaking has lots of different avenues right now. Of course, it's subject to litigation. The original statutory language only required 13 data fields. I believe the end result was 81 data fields, which is why the Bureau was sued in the first place. Our concern with the 1071 data fields beyond the 13 is that it will complicate the process. The banks have spent a lot of time going in and out of compliance and preparing for compliance of this rule.
My time has expired, so I'm sure there'll be more questions about this later. The chair now recognizes the ranking member of the subcommittee, Dr. Foster, for 5 minutes.